Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Senator Lee, for putting this project together and including so many of us to participate. I'm going to talk specifically about regulatory overreach and mission creep by the executive branch in the area of public lands. I'm currently the chairman of the House Western Caucus, where we're very concerned about the administration's overreach in regulatory issues affecting those lands. Now, recall, the federal government is the largest landowner in the United States. It controls a third of the land in the United States, 6 times the size of the state of California. Over 90% of those lands are in the West. Now, most of them were set aside under a law called FLPMA, the Federal Land Policy and Management Act in 1976, for multiple uses, meaning they could be used for recreation, for conservation, for sensible natural resource development, whether it was mining, oil and gas, grazing, and logging. But between this executive overreach and this barrage of regulations, for example, the EPA's new Waters of the U.S. rule, they are usurping what was never meant to be an issue of federal control. The waters in the United States, particularly in the West, have always been the province of the states, pursuant to the 10th Amendment, and the Constitution makes clear that states have that right. However, under the Waters of the U.S. rule, they have usurped control down to the puddle in states. In my own state of Wyoming, there is a couple, husband and wife, who got a permit from the state of Wyoming to legally build a pond on their property. And the EPA came in and is fining them thousands, tens of thousands of dollars under this new rule. It is absolutely beyond belief, even in this age of regulatory overreach, that this kind of thing could happen. Of course, states have sued. The courts are holding this regulation at bay until it is determined whether it was properly implemented and whether it is regulatory overreach. But it shouldn't have to go that far. Let me tell you about another law where overreach is just run amok, and that is the Antiquities Act of 1906. Does anybody in this room know what that is? Okay, one hand. The Antiquities Act gives the president the right to proclaim monuments on federal land that contain, and this is the statutory language, historic landmarks, historic and prehistoric structures, and other objects of historic or scientific interest. So the law was originally designed to protect quickly federal lands where archaeological sites were being affected by theft and looting. Of course, Theodore Roosevelt was among the first to use this act effectively. Now, here's further statutory language. By law, designations of monuments shall be confined to the smallest area compatible with proper care and management of the objects to be protected. Once again, smallest area compatible with proper care and management of the objects to be protected. Now, some monuments are less than an acre, being consistent with the statutory objective. But several presidents over the years in this creeping mission have established massive monuments, including Escalante Staircase, which is over 1 million acres, Glacier Bay, over 1 million acres. President Obama recently declared the Organ Mountains Desert Peaks region in New Mexico a national monument. And it was originally proposed with the assent of the local legislator, Steve Pierce of New Mexico, to be 55,000 acres. The president chose to designate almost 500,000 acres, not contiguous. The largest monument on land is St. Elias, covering 11 million acres. And what's happening now is presidents are using the Antiquities Act to create multi-million acre marine monuments. President Obama added 261 million acres to the Pacific Remote Islands Monument using the Antiquities Act. Now let's go back to the language of the law. By designation, a president can use the Antiquities Act to protect the smallest area compatible with proper care and management of the objects to be protected. Now, in your mind, is that what 261 million acres is? This is where the executive branch overreach, either through regulation or by mission creep, is expanding its role. And, of course, then the federal government, you, the taxpayers, have to pay to manage those lands in a way that is extremely costly and never contemplated by the budgeters and the appropriators and the taxpayers. This is the kind of egregious assault on the law and the regulations and the Constitution that I believe Senator Lee wishes to address. And I once again want to thank him for his extraordinary vision in taking this project on at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congressman Ratcliffe?